Hi everyone, it's Christina from the DIYmommy.com, and today I want to show you how to make labels with your Cricut machine. This video has been requested for quite a long time, ever since I did that video on kitchen dollar store organization. I will link to that somewhere up here and down in the description box below. I made some labels with my Cricut and I put them on some boxes in my refrigerator and everybody loved them. I still love them too. So today I'm going to show you step by step how to make those. In case you've never heard of it, a Cricut is basically a cutting machine. There's a whole bunch of different Cricuts you can get, like the Explorer Air 2 and the Maker. I have both of those. Cricut sent those to me over the past couple years. Either one of those is going to work for this tutorial. I will link them down in the description box below as well in case you're interested in purchasing them. Ready to make some labels? Let's get started. Find a container that you want to label, so a box, a bin, something that a vinyl can attach to. So in this case, I'm reusing an old spray bottle that I had for some skincare, and I'm putting some of my own DIY skincare in here. So I want to make a little label that says toner, and just measure how big you want your label to be. So in this case, I think about a 2-inch by maximum 1-inch high label, potentially even a 3-inch wide label could work in this case. So just use a soft measuring tape to do this. So Cricut has its own design software. It's on the cloud, it's online, it's called Cricut Design Space, and you can create an ID for it. It's completely free. However, you do have to pay if you want to bring in some of their images or their fonts, but you can bring in your own, so it doesn't have to be very expensive at all. So in this case, I'm just using some fonts I already have on my own system, so I'm not using any of Cricut's fonts. So I'm just using the font tool or the type tool to type toner, which is what I want my label to say. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick the font that I want this label to be. So I'm just using a system font, so on my own system, and I have a few that I love. I will link to them all in the description box below. You can buy fonts off of, my favorite one is Creative Market. This one is called Carolina or Carolinia, not too sure. And as you can see, the letters are too far apart, so there is a way to reduce the letter spacing in Cricut Design Space, and it's this tool here. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to also capitalize the T, I decided. So it's a pretty easy system to play with and work with, even if you're not too graphic design savvy. So after this, I decided that I wanted to make the letters even closer apart to make my label more resemble handwriting, which is a look that I absolutely love, especially with this particular font. And then you can do what's called individualizing the letters. So you basically create each individual letter like this, and I wanted to move the T over slightly to make it look like it belongs more with the rest of the word. And then what you can do after you create all your label is do what's called welding. So you use this welding tool in the bottom right hand side, and that makes all of these letters into one solid image, and that's going to cut really nicely on vinyl. It's going to make sure that all of the letters are nicely connected, and it's going to make your label work really well. Then you can use the sizing tool up here in the top center and make sure that the label is the size you want. So in my case, I'm just making sure that it is 2 inches wide. Then go ahead and save your label to whatever file name you want. You can make it public or not, it's up to you. Now you can choose some vinyl for your project. There are so many different vinyls that you can use to create labels. I'm going to use this beautiful vinyl here. I love this iridescent vinyl. It's just really fun. My girls love this too. So the vinyl that Cricut has a backing, a paper backing, and then it has the vinyl on top. Then you can use what's called a Cricut cutting mat. This is the medium grip cutting mat. And you just peel off the plastic layer on top. This just kind of protects the mat, helps it stay clean. And then you're going to go ahead and place your vinyl on top of the mat. I'll make sure to list all of these products down in the description box below if you want to have a look at them. Your local craft store like Michael's should have them as well. So in this case, my label is so small that I just want to use a little bit of vinyl. So I'm cutting off about 1.5 inches long of vinyl and the 8 inches, or the 12 inches rather, all the way across. There are also lots of uses for scrap vinyl. So if you don't want to waste any vinyl, which I don't want to, check out some of the links I'll leave in the description box below to find out uses for scrap vinyl so you're not wasting anything. Then you can go ahead and go back into Design Space and click on that Make It button, and it'll open up the screen to prepare your design for cutting. And then you can connect right to your Cricut machine. In my case, it's connecting right to my Maker via Bluetooth, which is really handy. There's also a phone app that you can connect to your Cricut as well. And then you can go ahead and choose the material that you're cutting to. Cricut, especially the Maker, can cut to all sorts of different materials, including fabric and leather. And then make sure the right tool is in your Cricut. In my case here, it's the fine point blade. And then go ahead and hit the Cricut button. You load it and then hit the Cricut button. So you can see the cutting heads are getting ready to cut, and then it's going to start cutting my label. So hit the Cricut button and the cut head is going to go for it. It's going to use the fine point blade to cut that label that I made. It's really fun to watch. It's so cool because the Cricut will know how much pressure to apply to cut the label just through that first layer, not the entire thing. If you're using iron-on vinyl, which I have done in the past, I'll link that project below. It also cuts it a certain way as well and mirror images it. There's a lot of things you can do with this machine if you use your creativity. So it's a pretty expensive tool to invest in as a crafter, but opens up a whole lot of doors, especially if you're wanting to create and sell some things like I've mentioned in previous videos. So here is the label that's fully cut. As you can see, the Cricut does a beautiful job of making sure all the lines are nice and smooth. So this tool you can get from Cricut. It helps you what's called weed away the excess vinyl. So weeding is just when you take away all of the vinyl that you don't want on your label from your design. So first of all, what I do is I take my hands and I just go ahead and peel off any of the vinyl that needs to be gone. So basically the bulk of it, the excess vinyl. And that's usually pretty straightforward, especially with a smaller label like this. And then as you can see, there's small little pieces that still need to be weeded out, like the inside of the O and the E. And I take this little pick, this little Cricut tool here, and I go ahead and weed out all of those tiny pieces. So yes, this is a longer process to make these labels. So if you don't enjoy this kind of thing, then you could consider doing labels another way. However, I love crafting and I know lots of you do too. And I absolutely love the look of these labels. So it's definitely a fun project if you enjoy those sorts of things. So here's what to help transfer your label nicely and straight right onto your container. So you can take some transfer tape and cut it out to about the same size as your label, like I'm doing here. The nice thing is you can reuse transfer tape, so keep the back of the transfer tape handy, so you can put it back on the backing and use it 2 or 3 or 4 times, depending on your design that you're using it for. So I'm just cutting out the transfer tape to the same size as my label, and then you peel the transfer tape off of its backing, and then you can thread it nicely onto your label. So you can spread the transfer tape onto your label just using your fingers, or you can use a tool from Cricut. It's like a spreading tool to help really push that transfer tape onto the label to make sure there's no bubbles and it's nice and smooth. So here's that tool, and here's how you can just kind of rub the transfer tape right onto the label. So make sure that the transfer tape is attached really well to the label. So it's going to look something like this. And next what you're going to do is take off the label from its backing with the help of the transfer tape. So what I like to do is I like to put the label upside down like I'm doing here and gently pull the backing of the label itself off, and the label is going to stick to the transfer tape. And this transfer tape is what's going to help you adhere your label to your container nice and straight. You can use the lines on the transfer tape to help you make it nice and straight. You can eyeball it, whatever works for you. If I have a round container like this, I like to stick the label on from the center and then spread it outwards like I'm doing with this container. Again, you can use your fingers to adhere the label to the container, or you can use that spreading tool right from Cricut and make sure that it's sticking really well to the container. And then after you think everything is stuck properly, you can go ahead and peel the transfer tape carefully off of the label. So the transfer tape is so awesome because it helps the letters stay all right spot. So my T is exactly where I want it to. All the other letters are connected, so it's not as important for those ones. But if you're using a font that's not connected, so something that is not handwriting, transfer tape is going to make sure all of your letters are in the spot on your container. And that's it. That is how to create some beautiful professional looking vinyl labels with your Cricut. Thanks so much for watching my video today. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. Let me know down in those comments below if you've ever tried using a Cricut or if you have a different way of making labels. I would love to hear. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more DIY and decor ideas on a budget. And I'm gonna leave some more videos that I think you'll enjoy right up here.